Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Muscle Connection podcast. Today's a solo episode and I have a interesting topic I want to dive into. But first, before I go into that, I just want to go over my free body recomp checklist. It's got 10 things that you need for a body recomp, what a body recomp is, how to do it, two types of body recomp, why it's important, focus on body composition, and anything else you want to know about body recomp that is in there. The link to that is in the show notes, so go and check that out. So with that out of the way, I want to dive into today's topic. I want to talk about, just seen this a few times, people talk about their metabolism, right? I'm not losing weight because I'm older. I've gained weight just from aging. Now that I'm older, I need to eat next to nothing to lose fat. And while there might be a little truth to those claims, I definitely think there is. And as I'm gonna talk about today, there definitely is some things to it. It's not often age that's an issue. It's the fact that people aren't doing the things that support their metabolism as they get older. And obviously going down to 1,200 calories, doing HIIT 7 days a week is not going to be the fix. That's only going to make it worse. Some of what I'm going to go over today is going to come down to awareness, but a big part of it is not understanding how your habits and environment impact your physiology. And so I'm going to go over 5 things here that lead to lower energy expenditure and a higher calorie intake, which ultimately makes fat loss harder than it needs to be and weight gain easier as you get older there. So there was a study, Concert did this. Basically, it showed that your metabolism doesn't naturally slow down from 20 to 60. Okay, so age 20 to 60, it stays relatively stable, all things considered there, right? But again, there's certain things that we can do that will impact your total daily energy expenditure. So when we look at your metabolism, there's 4 main components. There's resting metabolic rate, which is the energy you need for basic bodily functions. Okay, so even if you laid in bed, like you would still expend this amount of calories. This actually makes up the biggest portion of how many calories you burn in a day. Then we have thermic effect of food. That's the amount of energy you use to absorb and digest food. And then we have NEAT, which is like your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is basically subconscious movement, things that you just do throughout the day based on what you do during the day. And then we have obviously exercise activities. That can be the last 3 can be very variable on depending on the person and the energy balance you're in, et cetera. All these things can impact it. And that's going to make up how many calories you burn in a day. People will ask like how much. I would say, to generally speaking, most people, again, understand there's going to be people less than this. There's going to be people more than this. You're eating an amount that's going to maintain weight. You're probably looking at, you're going to expend somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 calories. Again, there's going to be some people that are going to be lower than that based on genetics, body size, what energy balance they're currently at. Are they currently losing weight? And then obviously there's going to be people way higher than that, people that exercise a ton, they're larger, they just have genetics on their side based on size. And so that people can be higher than that. But again, if I were to be like, okay, hey, I'm going to give you a random person here and you have to guess their total daily energy expenditure and you have to pick 1,000 calorie range and you're going to get $1,000,000. And if you lose, you're going to have to pay $1,000,000 later on. I'm picking somewhere between 2 to 3,000 calories. I don't know anything else about the person. That's all I'm doing. I'm just picking, that's the range that I'm going to choose there. So hopefully that kind of makes sense and gives you an idea. But as Herman Poncer talked about here in his study, they looked at, this was well into the thousands of people here, over 6,000 from ages 20 to 60, metabolism stays stable. And so we're talking about resting metabolic rate here, right? So that stays stable based on lean body mass and everything like that, right? Based on body weight and everything. Like it won't just naturally go down until people get to about 60, and then they will start to see things trend down. But as I talked about, resting metabolic rate is really only one portion of how many calories you burn in a day. Again, that makes sense. That stays relatively stable based on activity and when adjusted for activity and lean body mass there. Now, in saying that, there's things though that can impact this and can get you to the point to where your total daily energy expenditure does decline over time. And which in turn is going to make fat loss much tougher. And again, you get that feeling of, okay, holy crap, this is why I can't now lose weight as I'm in my 30s. When I was in my 20s, it was super easy, right? So again, what are going to be these things? So first, loss of muscle and poor body composition, lower activity levels, no resistance training, poor dieting, training strategies, yo-yo dieting, chronic dieting, crash dieting, etc. These can all lead to muscle loss and a higher fat to muscle ratio, which is going to lower your overall calorie burn. So if you were younger, you moved a lot more, you lifted weights, now you stop doing that. You've also, during this time, tried to lose weight multiple times, but in a way that's not great. You crash dieted a couple times and then you rebound it. Again, you're likely going to lose some muscle. And then on the way up, you're going to gain some fat. So now your metabolism is not as good as it was before that. Now you just have more body fat, and that's going to lead to other issues that are going to cause some dysfunction down the line, right? That are going to impact how many calories you burn in a day. Also, if you're just chronically dieting, if you're someone who's like always trying to fat loss diet, you're likely not going to be expending as much energy. So it feels like you have to keep going lower and lower. And it feels, hey, anytime I eat more than 1,200 calories, I gain a bunch of weight. Well, it's like your body's really adapted to that. And now you need to work getting that back up. But yeah, and then again, if you haven't resistance trained over the last little while, like that's going to impact your lean body mass, which in turn is going to impact your total daily energy expenditure. Less movement in general. As we get into our 30s and beyond, we tend to move less. Whether you think you do or not, we just tend to move less. We have more sedentary jobs. In general, the modern environment is more sedentary than, say, it was probably 20, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, and it probably continues to get more and more as more technology comes out. So we're just moving less. So more sedentary time and reduced activity means you're burning less calories throughout the day. Again, this if you're not actively tracking this and you're not actively seeking out movement, like this is one of those low key things that you just don't really realize. You think things are the same, but we have recency bias, and this can add up, right? To where now you're spending 200 to 300 less calories per day. And again, over time, it's say one or two, like in a week, that's not going to be a big deal. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years down the line. It's like that's going to start to add up over time. You have the same or more calorie intake. So if we just talk, okay, so let's say you have the same calorie intake, but now you're moving less, well, not, and maybe a little bit less muscle. Now we're talking your total daily energy expenditure is down a little bit there, right? Maybe you're also eating the same like you did in your teens and 20s, and you have less muscle and less movement. You're likely to gain weight now. However, today's calorie dense foods, and again, this is the same thing as movement. I feel like these continue to get more tasty and easier to overeat. It makes it easy to overeat without realizing it. And again, not to mention these types of foods hack our brain. And then on top of it, meals out are often packed with calories even if you feel like you didn't eat much. And the serving sizes on these meals continue to get larger, and they're larger than they were years ago. And they probably are packing in more calories per bite now. So again, people eat a lot more calories than they think. So, we have this mismatch here of less movement, less muscle. We're continuing to get worse body composition. And now it's like this is slowly adding up over time. Nothing's changed from this didn't naturally happen because you got older. It's because your choices are starting to add up. But the next, though, and this is where things start to get a little dicey, is poor metabolic health, chronic stress. So obviously, as we age, like stress generally goes up. You have more life responsibilities. Again, today's modern environment is not very conducive to a healthy circadian rhythm. So we have circadian misalignment, which continues to get worse year over year. This all leads to now people are on more medications. All this can lead to gut health issues, poor sleep, which is going to further mess with circadian misalignment, which is going to make you more hungry. Now you're going to be less likely to move. Lack of exercise and movement, a history of extreme dieting can impact your metabolic health. Chronic dieting, yo-yo dieting, these can all disrupt hormones and metabolic efficiency, so further reducing your overall energy expenditure. And again, micronutrient deficiencies also play a role. And if you're not supplementing strategically, you're likely low in some nutrients that can impact your metabolic function as well too. So things are just less like we want our metabolic health to be in a good spot, because that's going to make your body more receptive more receptive to body comp change. When our metabolic health is not in a great spot, our body's just less likely to be adaptive in terms of improving body composition and things like that. It's like you have to go uphill. So again, all these things start to add up, but it's not just, okay, 1 week of poor sleep is going to completely screw you. It's, again, multiple years of small circadian misalignments, chronic stress really being the big one, especially in people who are active and do things, right? So even if you're active, maybe you're active, but you have chronic stress, you just have a lot more life responsibilities, your recovery capacity is lower. You could just be digging yourself into a hole here. And then you try and put that on top of maybe a lot of these people are typically going to have more like yo-yo dieting, like extreme dieting or chronic dieting, and that's going to impact your metabolic health, right? Now, the good news is we can change this, but if you aren't actively changing that, and again, you're trying to do things that you did in your 20s, this could be partly of what's going on here with that. And then obviously, again, if we aren't eating enough calories, or we just have food or poor diet quality, like that can lead to some micronutrient deficiencies, which again is going to impact your metabolic health. And then on top of it, we're just less resilient to stress in general as we age, right? Especially if we're not proactive about building good health habits and stress resilience. So again, our bodies are going to be less adaptive, and just less adaptive to any stressor we put on it, probably from accumulation of years of poor stressors, but then also we just have a shrinking ability to be able to do that if you aren't proactive about building good habits. Now, the problem with this is a lot of people are in this vicious cycle of stress is high, and so their body's not really able to adapt, right? So you could be working hard and training hard and like dieting and stuff like that, and things aren't changing, but you're getting yourself in this vicious cycle. So we have to take a 360 approach here. So again, when resilience is low and stress load is high, the body just doesn't adapt as well. And just trying to willpower your way through is not going to work. And so again, the effects of all these stressors, muscle loss, inactivity, stress, poor sleep, past dieting strategies, circadian misalignment, they all compound over time there with that. And all this is going to lead to you just feeling like your body's less receptive to change. And in turn, you're going to feel like your metabolism is slower because you're getting older. But the good news is your metabolism will remain steady well into your late 50s if you maintain muscle mass and good body composition. So again, we have to do the right things. So we can't just push ourselves and eat 1,200 calories a day. We have to do the right things. If you stay active and keep your movement high outside of the gym, again, you're going to maintain that healthy metabolism as you age. And we build strong lifestyle habits that support metabolic health. And again, that's where a lot of people go wrong. There's, again, training hard and eating low calorie, but they don't have the lifestyle side of things dialed in. If we can dial those things in, we can maintain this healthy metabolism. And so really what I'm trying to get at here is if you feel like things are slower, there's something along the lines that probably needs to be improved. And again, a lot of people, if you're training hard and you're tracking calories, and this is the case, we need to look at, have you ever taken time to actually around maintenance calories, but actually fuel your body for performance and to feel your best? Have you done that? If not, that could be the thing that you need there, right? But also the lifestyle factors is going to be key as well too. So again, the circadian misalignment, the stress load and stress resilience there. Gut health is going to be a big one here as well too. From a training perspective, though, it's just smarter training, though, right? Making sure that we're going for the right stimulus and not just training just to train hard. Like those are things that we want to look at. And again, typically that's going to come down to people who are doing all these things. They're staying active, and those are the things that they need to look at. Now, if you're someone who you haven't been making the greatest food choices lately, you haven't really been tracking your movement, you haven't been exercising, it's like those are the things you need to do. It's not, again, because you're getting older, it's like you need to start doing those things. But a lot of people listen to this probably fall in that first category a bit more there. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, the cool thing is we have control over this. If you want to stay lean, strong, and energized as you age, we want to focus on muscle retention, movement, and metabolic health, not blaming our metabolism, because that's not what it is. There's something along the lines that we can fix there. And I bring this up because what was this at? Let me pull up this comment that I had a couple weeks ago. I think it was when I had my cardio post. Sorry, this goes super slow. Just give me a second. Okay. So someone said, plus as you get older, fat loss is nearly impossible without an extreme deficit. Hard to do that without doing a lot of road work. And I said, I agree to an extent, but I wouldn't say getting older means you need an extreme deficit. If that's the case, I would love to do a deeper dive into someone's like aerobic system, resting heart rate, lifestyle habits, etc. But I do agree that we should be pushing movement here. And so really, I think what I was getting at is I would love to do a deeper dive into those things if they felt like they needed an extreme deficit to lose weight as they got older. Because again, it's probably something along those lines that I just talked about today that are going to be the key things at play here with that. Let me know if you have any questions on this topic. And if you found this podcast to be helpful in any way, if you could leave a rating and review. And then if you haven't yet, give me a follow on Instagram, Jeff, HOEHN_. That's where I'm most active. Talk to you guys soon.